And we're live. We're live.
We are live.
Whew. First podcast of 2019. Very exciting.
Well, we made
as
it.
you
We
can
made
see-
it through 2018 accomplishment.
we made it through half of 2018 with this podcast, and now we're entering 2019. As you can see, we're both very excited. A little tired for sure. I think June is sick. That is his point for the day.
Yep.
So let's see what comes out of our conversation today, our footnotes. So June, what's been going on? Why are you sick? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe I partied too hard on New Year's. But so New Year's started off with a bang. I had a lot of fun. And I was downtown at Rebel to start off the new year. And then I went to Blue Mountain. So we got a place in Collingwood, me and my cousins and a couple of other friends. And the first day we went skiing, I didn't have any, it was very cold. I didn't have any neck protection. So my face and my neck were getting battered by very cold wind and snow. So that's probably why I got sick. And I was also super tired from New Year's. So if there's ever a time to be like immune compromised, it's probably super tired, hungover, and like super cold June. So that's probably when, something sneaked up on me, and it's been running its course for over a week. And like I feel like I'm sort of at the climax now, today and yesterday. So it can only get better from here.
That's great.
I'll try my best to engage today in a next state.
I think the best approach to it is just to speak whatever comes to mind, and if you say anything kind of not great, we'll just cut the episode. Simple as that. So
right.
If people are listening right now, then they'll hear all of it, but we'll fix it in post. We'll fix it in post. So you started off the New Year's with a bang. I kind of did the opposite. I was at home. I was just chilling. Interestingly enough, like I kind of got sick anyway. I think there's like two ways to get immunocompromised. It's like when you do too much activity and you like burn yourself out, or you do nothing at all and you become basically weak to any sort of stimulus or any like illness that's going around because you're just not prepared for it. You're just like in your room all day and you're, hygiene hypothesis, you don't get exposed to anything. So then when you actually step out, like you get assaulted by all of these bacteria, viruses, whatever that are floating around. So I got a bit of a cough. I got a bit of a nose issue. But hey, I feel like a lot of people in our like our age range around there usually tend to get sick around this time, regardless of what they do. So we're in good company.
Yeah. How's your sickness? How from a level of 1 to 10, how sick are you?
Well, on a level of 1 to June, I think I'm at like a 4. It's not terrible. It's not impeding my function a lot, but I can feel it like bubbling, and might get worse over the days. But yeah, you seem to be at a good 7 or 8.
Yeah, that would be a good. Yeah, I think at 8. I just took an Advil, so maybe it's coming down to a 7. But sometimes I enjoy being sick.
Right. Why do you say that?
Sometimes I feel as though it gives me a legitimate excuse to like rest. It's not an excuse, it's a good reason. But when you're feeling like this, when you're not like physically sick, when you're not literally infected with bacteria, then it's harder for you to like legitimize or give yourself the space to actually rest,
Right.
and maybe to like say, oh, it's okay if you only work at 40-50% of your function today. Like that's going above and beyond what you're expected to do in that state. So I like being sick.
So you mentioned something interesting, like the idea of expectation, right? So when you're not sick, you're expected to perform what at like 90%, 100%, and then when you're sick, you can sort of give yourself a little more space. I personally feel like when I'm sick, I'm a lot more calm. Like my anxieties kind of go away. Maybe that's the side effect of the med, but like I stop worrying as much, and I just kind of get through the day hour by hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my timeline shrinks when I'm sick.
Yeah. It's like pain puts you in contact with the moment, right? Because it's
Yeah.
there and you kind of always have to attend to it. So it's kind of like a weird meditative retreat that I'm on, maybe.
Instead of focusing on the breath, you just focus on the pain. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if it gets overwhelming, then then it's probably not the great thing. But there's things I appreciate about different states, even if they might seem on the surface negative. So yeah, being sick, you're more grateful for when you're not sick, and you're a little more generous to yourself if you can treat yourself right. Like when you're feeling lonely, then you can have a chance to be grateful for like the connections you have, and the things you've belonged to before or want to belong to. Like it makes you think of uh, sort of the flip side, and you can kind of use those maybe more difficult emotions into as a pathway into something more positive and meaningful.
Right. It's like that old adage, something like you don't know happiness until you've been sad, or you don't know the light until you've been in the dark, or something like that. Some variant of that form.
Yeah. I like this idea of like the flip. Like you kind of play a trick, and it's like, huh, you thought I was gonna be sad all day? No, I'm gonna turn that into something else.
Well, thinking about the converse though, like sometimes you think, thought you'd be happy all day. It's like here's a bout of depression for you, just sneaking up.
Yeah.
Just the course of life.
I mean, right. So you had that expectation, and then something went like off. Like, you might not know what it is. I don't know if I told you about this moment, but it was near the beginning of break. I was back in Toronto. I was working I went to like a Whole Foods, and there was a cafe in the Whole Foods or something. And then I bought this like burger, and I haven't had carbs for a long time by that point. So I had that burger, and then like after the meal, I was feeling like groggy, and like I felt my mood being like a little bit depressed. So I was like, what's going on here? Like, why am I feeling this way? Like, am I sad? Like, am I lonely? Like, what is this? And it occurred to me that like I'm trying so hard to box in that feeling. It's like feelings are kind of ambiguous, right? They're kind of low resolution signals. They just point you in like some general direction, but it doesn't specify like what that source is usually. Well, there's like a lot of ambiguity, but a part of us wants to be like, oh, I don't like this. Let's identify where that is coming from, like find some for a scapegoat, even if none exists, and then blame it on that, right? So I think my tendency has been to identify like a source immediately with like, oh, there must be something wrong with me, like, oh, I'm not spending enough time with people, or like, I shouldn't have ate those damn carbs, or like these are all like valid hypotheses, but you're not going to be able to verify that in that moment. Or you might have like the flip side, which is you might want to blame other people, like I don't know. Why do everyone live so far away? And that one thing mom said to me, or that last night, like maybe that's really ticking me off. Like, and those can be ways to feel better. But there's a third thing I tried that day, which was kind of mull in the ambiguity and say like, all right, I'm just gonna sit with this like discomfort, and I'm gonna investigate it. I'm probably not gonna get to the bottom of it, but then within 4 or 5 minutes of doing that, just kind of dissolve. Right? I just kind of sat in the ambiguity, and then the feelings kind of dissipated. So I thought that was a cool moment. I was like, yeah, maybe at times, like there's no one source you can blame for whatever ailment you have at that moment. But if you observe and are patient and not so quick to judge, like it might resolve all on its own, just because that's what the body does.
Interesting. Do you have the Facebook newsfeed Eradicator?
Yes.
There's this quote that keeps popping up by Alan Watts.
Mm-hmm.
I never understood. I think it's something like, "Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone."
Yes.
And I never really understood what that meant, to be honest, because my mentality is always like, address things head on, deal with the issues. If there's some sort of emotional distress, take it apart, figure out why it's happening, and then work through it. But just to leave it alone, like that, isn't that just setting the problem aside to deal with later? That's always been my perspective. But I don't know. This is, I guess, an example of when you could just sort of let things lie and then it sort of resolves itself.
Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes, so let's go with that muddy water analogy. Maybe you have a literal mud sewage that's pumping mud into the water system that's making it muddy. In that case, yeah, you're gonna want to use your rational faculties and be like, where's the source coming from? Okay, I can block it off here. I can turn whatever sewage system off so that there's no more water coming, mud coming into my water. But usually things are more complex than not all problems can be reduced to a single source. And even when there's multiple sources, they're like linked in a very tight and complex web of relationships, such that it's very difficult to tease apart like where the silver bullet fix can be applied to immediately resolve the situation. So I think in those kind of situations, yeah, leaving the water, stop splashing around and trying to find the problem. Maybe you trying to find the problem is the problem.
Wow, that's deep. That's meta.
Yeah, that's meta. So two different ways to solve two different kinds of problems.
Right. And it's also that idea that like the silver bullet, there's no silver bullet. And that I don't particularly like this, the idea that there's different ways to solve different problems. Like I wish there was at least like a framework by which you could start. And maybe there is, but to me it feels like it always depends. And that puts me in a very bad position. I think like it's an uncomfortable position. It's a position whereby it's hard to decide where to move forward and how to move forward. You know, it's like playing a game of chess without knowing what each of the pieces do. Like it's it's hard to plan out what the next steps are going to be. Essentially, um, yeah, I don't know how to go forward with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that sounds like a very rational, like maybe reductionistic approach to problem solving. You want to delineate the problem, break it down into steps, and then, well, solve the problem that way.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe there's more other intuitive, feely, hands wavy ways of solving problems or working through an issue. Like maybe when I was sitting down in that state, and I was observing and engaging with the uncomfortable feelings,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it was as though I was attending to a part of myself that like needed attention, for example. Like that could be one possible framework for like how that resolution happened. Like, is that the case? Like, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But those things you can't really pin down with certainty.
A good um, a good place to be in the start of the year in 2019. There's some things you just can't figure out. All right, let's start the year off anew with all these problems that we don't know the solutions to. Man, it's like it feels like a cycle again. Like I think sometimes I feel like I go through the cycle of certainty and uncertainty, and right now I'm definitely in a place of uncertainty, and it also doesn't help that this break I've done nothing as a lot of people do. So I'm kind of like I forgot I was a medical student. I've kind of lived like I was in high school again, basically just relaxing and taking it easy. Now it's time to pick up the pieces again. Everything starts again tomorrow, eh? For both of us.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's see if our prognosis is a little better once we get back into the swing of things. Sucks that you're sick though. Before you start.
I don't. It's not a curse. Maybe it's a blessing.
Maybe it's a blessing.
Who knows? But Paul, I wanted to ask you, why did you spend your break that way?
Why have I spent my break this way? Well, let's try to break it down. Is there a hands wavy way to press it? I don't know. To my best estimation is that I wasn't really able to get myself into a rhythm of things. So as soon as the break started, I went to New York, had some good times with family. But you know, being away for like 4 or 5 days and doing other things, like it didn't really help me like really relax. I was just having a fun time, and then I came back, and I don't know. I just felt like I didn't feel like I could really get into a rhythm of anything. And to me, I think routine is important. Um, in fact, I did come to a routine. It's just not the one that I wanted. And the routine was waking up, maybe eating breakfast, and then sitting on the computer for like 6, 7 hours, scrolling through different things, watching different things, and then going to the gym here and there. And yeah, I mean, it sounds like a good time, right? Like I wish it was a better time. I wish I could have enjoyed it more. But I don't know. I'm a workaholic, or at the very least, I'm like I always feel guilty about having time off. So maybe it'd be good if I was sick again too, that I could lower my expectations a bit more.
Right. Okay, so So I love this rhythm, music kind of metaphor for life,
Hmm.
and I think it's more than a metaphor. So what if you were like over the break just diving to Paul's best music,
Mm.
What if you were to do it again, what would it look like? Like, you got a rhythm going, you had momentum. It was like
Mm.
you're just moving along to the beat like all day for 2 weeks.
I think like I'd spend more time by myself, but outside of the home. Um, so wearing like work clothes or like school clothes actually helps with that, changing to that mindset. I was in my home clothes all the time, so it didn't really help. And I think I don't know, like I would have explored more of my interests. I think I would have wrote more music. I would have looked into more opportunities for the summer. Figured out what I wanted to do then. Scheduled a few more observerships, things like that.
Is that really what you would jive to? Would you like sit in front of it like, man, these summer positions, I'm so excited, you know?
Man, I don't know. Like when you put it that way, man. Ah, I think I would have much actually enjoyed traveling alone. I
Uh-huh.
think I would have wanted to maybe like a Europe trip and like Europe in the winter. I don't know how that goes, but
Uh-huh.
I would want to go somewhere alone, maybe with
Why,
one
why,
friend or something. Hmm?
why alone?
Because I don't like I like my own music, you know. Like I don't. Sometimes I want to listen to my own stuff, and I don't. When you're with other people, you kind of have to like compromise with the music you have to listen to, right?
Or
But
you harmonize?
or you harmonize. Yeah, that's. It's hard to find people to harmonize with all the time, right? Um,
That's
and
very true.
I just sometimes feel like I don't do enough just by myself. So yeah, I think I would have done that.
Travel.
Hmm?
Travel to Europe.
Europe, somewhere new, um, and like bounce around from place to place often, frequently. Um, yeah, like for me, like good music is just going with the flow and like just doing whatever kind of pops up in front of you and like what you feel like. You kind of decide what the next chorus is going to be, what the bridge is going to be as you go along. It's like improvisation, right? It's
Yeah,
like jazz.
right.
Um, you like jazz? Uh,
Yeah.
so I think that would be my ideal. How about you, Ju? Like, how has your winter break been, and like, has it
Uh-huh.
been to your liking? Has it been your music, your jam?
Yeah. Let's see. I headed into the winter break with some goals. So
Hmm.
one of them was to uh, do a trial of the new workout and diet that I've been reading and researching on, which I
Right.
got to do to some extent. My other goal was to treat my time in staying in Toronto like a vacation. So like I was very generous with my like spending. So like, and I mean not that generous like when I think about it, but relatively to like my regular life. So I took the Uber everywhere, like instead of busing.
Mm.
So like the Uber costs like $6, $7, $8. It's really cheap with like the new Express Pool feature. Not a We're not sponsored by Uber or anything. Uh, as as compared to like a $3 TTC ride, and like you have to walk to the bus stop, and like usually you miss the bus because Google Maps is unreliable, and like blah blah blah. It's like, you know those small things that maybe I would have put up with before. I
Mm.
was like, oh, what if I just like treat the city as if I'm a tourist, and and let myself indulge a little bit in those like tiny little pleasures. that actually do a lot for me, like in terms of, for example, like when I want to go somewhere, like if I want to go to a cafe, like my house is positioned on like this huge hill that I have to climb maybe like 20 minutes before I can walk there.
Right.
So like just taking the Uber and just being able to click, 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 and then have it pick me up right in front of my house and go, not having to worry about parking, like drastically lowers the activation energy for me to go somewhere and to do things.
Mm-hmm.
So I treated myself nicely in that way. I think I went to a lot of really good food places. So over the break, it's two all you can eat sushi, uh, Chinese buffet, hot pot, which we did together with Sam, and then all you can eat Japanese barbecue. We did a all you can eat Korean barbecue at like my place. I had like a 3-pound burger with like a pound of fries. It's like a food challenge in Collingwood,
Yeah.
and a charcuterie board that was like brought because our Airbnb host forgot like the keys in the lockbox and like gave us a gift basket to apologize.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So, I like indulged in gluttony a lot. And I think I've, mastered the art of gluttony like a little bit. I was also, so I had Jeff Park, who's my cousin, stay with me at my house. And that was like a really good thing for me because I know that when I'm home, like I'm often lonely. Like people are far away and I want to like get in touch with people, but it's difficult and costly and people aren't always around. So having Jeff there, just like, we did our separate things during the day, but we'll get back home and then we'll both play League for the night for like from like 9 to 2 a.m.
Mm.
And that was a lot of fun. Like we grew up playing video games together, so like that kind of like boyish competitive, yelling and screaming and playing video games, that's something you know, at the time I felt like sort of guilty about, like, oh, can I be doing like something more productive for the break?
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought, no, this is what a break is meant to like kind of reconnect you with, like, so yeah, no, I usually I don't have good breaks, but like over time I think I've learned how to make myself
Mm.
less miserable like each successive break that I've had. Like I can tell you about this one time in grade 12. I think it was March break. And breaks are hard because like your regular schedule and rhythm of school and lessons or like whatever other commitments you have, they kind of like they're thrown out of the water. And if your parents don't like plan anything for a long time, then like it's very easy to just fall into a pit of like depression or like just literally spending all your time on your phone or on your computer.
Mm-hmm.
So like I remember like my lowest point during my grade 12 March break was like I was taking a shower and then I just felt so sad and like I just literally sat down and just let the hot shower water pour over me for like 25 minutes, right? So
That was pretty nice, actually.
it's nice, and I think there's a study that shows that like the length of time that people stay like in shower like can be mapped onto how like depressed or anxious they're feeling. It's interesting.
Amazing.
It's like I understand why it'd be like a very good coping behavior. It's like warmth around you,
Mm.
which people need. But yeah, I've maybe I've like overdone it a little bit. Like I'd like to balance it more next time by another goal like I would have ideally accomplished for the break was like I wanted to start making covers on violin that I can upload on a new YouTube channel and kind of try that out, test the waters.
Mm.
Um, but like all in all, I'm very happy about the time I spent over the break, and I think that's like a major milestone for me in terms of like giving myself the space and the generosity to like it's like when a dad or like a older brother kind of gives you money or like yongdon.
Yeah.
Yongdon is like
Spending money,
just
allowance.
spending money, allowance. Then says like, hey, go like eat what you want, go do what you want to do. And like, you know, I didn't grow up with an older brother or anything, but like I can kind of be that to myself, which is very cool.
Mm.
So I guess I fulfilled the promise that like I made to myself once, like maybe earlier in the semester, and it was something like I'm gonna be good to you and like we're gonna have fun, like that. We as in like me to me.
Right. And it's good to be your own, get your own friend and also your own older brother, sort of, your own guardian, your own friend, and then
Yeah,
maybe your own kid sometimes to
right.
make you less, what do you call it? Less old, like less ingrained in what you're doing. So you can sort of branch out from that sometimes too. Um,
And when you actually have, when you actually have a kid, it is your own. It
oh,
is you, like part of you in like literal kid form,
mm,
not just psychological kid form.
right.
Yeah.
I wonder what that's like. I should ask my dad, um,
Yeah.
or my mom. I wanted to ask you something because I wanted to kind of want to test the concept of breaks, um, and sort of the value of them because I want to ask, why should we need these kind of breaks in the first place? Like, should we not be in? Isn't it more ideal for us to be in a state where we could continue to work, but also, you know, have time off more spread out across the year, not have to like binge like three, let's say 2 or 3 weeks at a time to really like detox and um, go on these escapades. Like I I would really much rather be in a state where I could be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna take the weekends off, and that's gonna be my life for the next 3 years, and that's kind of how my parents have lived for the last like 20 years, right? Like they don't take long breaks; they take max maybe a week or week and a half off, but they're still kicking, they're still going. So I'm wondering, like, is that a better state, and should we really be in that situation?
I mean, you could do both. You could have regular interval breaks, coupled with longer term breaks that happen in different times.
It's like
Like,
tomato time.
huh?
It's like tomato time. You remember tomato time? Pomodoro?
Yeah,
Pomodoro technique?
it's exactly like you know, the Pomodoro technique where you work for 25 minutes, take a break for 5, repeat that cycle 4 times, and then on your 5th break, thou shalt rest for 40 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think people back in the day when we were first developing calendars and cycles and things like this were like very acutely aware of this problem. Like, so how should we like rhythm our lives? Like what should be the beat of, like individually, like communally? And so I think, you know, that's, you know, partially why you have things like, for example, the Sabbath in the Jewish tradition, which
Mm.
is like if you live in Thornhill, which is where I come from, it's the most Jewish writing in all of Ontario. Like on Friday nights, you'll see like Jewish people in their traditional clothing going to synagogue, and on the Sabbath, it is illegal to work, right? It is illegal to do additional Jewish law. and that's because God says in the Bible, like, that is your day of rest. And like they also have this idea embedded in years. So for 6 years you work on the land and cultivate and farm on the land, but on the seventh year you give it a break. And like ecologically speaking, like that's actually very smart because it allows the like whatever mineral and groundwater that you've exhausted for those 6 years to kind of come back and replenish. So I think part of the idea of cycles and rhythms we've kind of developed by observing the pace of nature and the rhythm of nature. There's events that happen every year. There are rarer events that happen like less frequently. For example, like a solar eclipse, or like one of those the one of those other astrological events. So like it's a very deep idea, but like the question is, so like how should we adapt our rhythms like in modern life?
Mm-hmm.
If those like more early and traditional classical beats were kind of standard meter, like 4x4, it's like very steady rhythms. Maybe now we're in a phase where some improvisation is possible, where the rhythms and beats and cycles are a little bit like jazz. You have mixed meters and like mixed beats, and you can kind of improvise once you have like the standard schedule down, and once you have like your own rhythm and pace of life down, then maybe you can work for 12 months, rest for 3, or work 3 days and then rest for 4, or like there's different ways to parse up time, right? And but maybe we should get better at like the standard rhythm, like just what everyone else does, and get good at it. So for example, like working weekdays, enjoying weekends, and taking breaks whenever else people take breaks, and doing fun things during breaks. Like I that's the way I think of it, and then we can start to improvise a little.
Music is the theme of our discussion today. The music of life. I really like that idea, and I want to explore that a bit more. The idea of getting a standard beat, because I don't know if a lot of people are actually living that standard beat. The weekday work and the weekends rests kind of idea. I think there's a lot of families, especially maybe down south or lower economic status families, who have had to compromise that, and who are able to still work and are able to still succeed. And I wonder if there's really no standard except for your own. Like you kind of have to do what you have to do. And so maybe it would be worth to explore our own genres of music and the different types of beats that it offers. So I don't know, like me personally, I think my best beat would be something like literally every day have some sort of balance of work and play. And maybe after 1 or 2 months of that, then I could have like a week off or something, and then I do it again, and I have a consistent rhythm that way. Yeah, I see every single day as sort of every day is long. I just feel like every day is long, and I experience like every minute very vividly, and I'm present for all of it. And so if I'm working too long at one point, then like I need a break that day. So unfortunately, this is not compatible with a lot of the systems that are set up for me right now, especially with my education, right? Like I have to go to lectures. Well, I don't have to go to lectures, but it'd be good to go to lectures, and it's good to follow these things that the system set out for me. But I don't know if it really fits my rhythm. So there's an aspect of also just kind of listening to someone else's music until you can write your own. But yeah, like I wanted to ask you, like I know you've been exploring this too, like what your rhythm's like and what your music's been like so far.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to make a point on the having to listen to someone else's music.
Yeah.
So a while ago, I recommended the movie Shawshank Redemption to Paul,
Yeah.
and
I
you
cried.
watched it,
Sorry.
right?
Go ahead.
And you've watched it, right? We've
Yeah,
had
I
this
watched
discussion,
it. Yeah.
right? So you know, I don't want to spoil the movie, but maybe I will. Shawshank Redemption is about this dude, presumably innocent, who is, I think, we're not fully sure, wrongly convicted for the murder of his wife, and sent to a very tough prison called Shawshank. And there's a very tyrannical warden that brutalizes the patient, not the patients, the
Prisoner.
Freudian slip there, the yeah, the prisoners, and strips them of their humanity and dignity. And this guy who's in there is kind of trying to work the system, try to survive, and still try to kind of find his own music. And I think this is something like a 10-year process, or something ridiculous. And one of the first moments that was, I think, the first spark of hope in this guy's journey towards freedom or redemption is he manages to negotiate with the tyrannical warden of the prison, um, and in exchange for some labor, him and some of the other prisoners working on the roof get to enjoy some beer,
Mm.
right? And also, like, another big theme of the movie is music. So I think he went into the warden's room and started playing classical music to, these prisoners probably haven't heard proper music for maybe dozens of years, right? So those kind of sparks of hope really make you believe that maybe redemption and freedom is possible, even if you're in like the worst circumstances, if you keep kind of hacking away at it. So like, even if you are in like a oppressive, let's say, medical, even medical education, just whatever education or work system that you have to, or that you might not fully enjoy, I think there's opportunity for those kind of moments of like humanity and those glimpses at paradise we talked about. And so I think the key is something like, yes, endure the work, endure it with the other prisoners, and have some moments of humanity, like that, of music, of sharing a drink, of um, and at the end there might be redemption, there might be liberation, and the rest of our lives may be spent in that paradise, tropical island setting, fishing on a boat, which I guess I ruined the ending of the movie. But yeah, I had that with regards to like being in an oppressive kind of system.
I've got to watch that again. I'm
Now,
gonna watch it on the bus to London in a couple hours.
yeah, you know what? That's a great idea. I might rewatch it at some point during this week. I think it's a great movie. Um, yeah. What was the other question? How do I manage my own rhythm?
What is your own rhythm? What do you think?
So every song you usually start with the bass, right? So it's
You got a bass
you
going.
start with the bass, you start with the percussion, and that sets the grounds for your entire song.
Mm.
And so for me, like, those things are like, yeah, those things are sleep, food, exercise, and maybe like some kind of human contact. It's like a minimal necessary condition for existence, right?
Right.
Not just, you know, not happiness, not finding rhythm and motivation, right? Those are your basics. That's why it's the base. And then you have another layer on top of that, right? Maybe those things can be like your social activities. Maybe you can couple social activities with your exercise. So, you know, off the base, there's like a hi-hat right off the base. Maybe you're like, maybe me basketball in a gym is something like that, where I can reap the benefits of both exercise and like add a little twist to it by using that as a forum for socializing. Maybe pursuing like romantic interests or other relationships or other sources of like ways to layer the top, and eventually, like, you know, you can add some ad lib or some of the other elements we talked about. So that's how I kind of conceptualize like how I want to get back into the rhythm, into the swing of things. So this week I'm starting with the bases, reestablishing those and building up and up and up again. And sometimes you kind of need to scrap the song, right? Like you're listening to it and it's like, yeah, that's not working. Like start over. Something's wrong. But I think I've figured out like a good baseline for kind of the song I want to live, at least in the rhythm of pre-clerkship.
Very cool. Love the metaphor. Love it. Let me try it out myself, actually. I'm wondering if we want to cut it off there. Just keep it short for today. Both of us are kind of tired out here. June, did you have any other comments? Any words that you wanted to say? I know it's kind of abrupt, but
yeah, no. Keep playing your music, and see if you can harmonize with others. If you can, it's fine. If you need to scrap your song and start again, it's fine. Just keep jiving.
Keep jiving. All right. 2019 it's the year for jiving.
All right.
Let us know. All right. Well, thanks for listening, and yeah, see you later.
See you next week.